So we're going to do part 2 here. We're going to look at what you would get after you process, or in the middle stage of processing, that cherry we just showed you. So you have this slimy cherry. This is a little drawer I keep. And here's your options. One is pods. You're going to dry process that coffee. You're going to, let's hold it right up there, get some better shot. You're going to take that cherry, you're going to lay it in the sun. You're going to dry it. It's going to become this brown color. And I think some of these we can actually see. And then in one step, there it is, I did it. Can't see it well, but in one step you're going to rip it all off on the dry processing hulling machine. And what you're going to get is this fragment, which could be made into Kisher tea, the interior parts, which actually they're all attached in there. And then we got, if you can see it, 2 green beans. Dry process. Now, this coffee has not been sorted in any way, except that hopefully it was picked right. And now everything's going to happen by hand. So that's going to have to go down and be hand sorted, and if one of these is bad, you're going to have to pull it out. Okay, here we have parchment coffee. So you're going to wet process coffee, let's say, and you're going to ferment for anywhere from, say, 12 hours to 24 hours to some extreme cases like Kenya, maybe, 36, 48 hours, 72 hours, who knows. And you're gonna, that fruity layer, that slimy layer is gonna break down. Then you're gonna wash it down a channel. You're gonna agitate it, and that fruity layer is just gonna come right off. And what you're gonna get when you feel that during the processing, it's gonna feel like sandpaper. It's gonna have a rough texture to it. If you haven't finished fully fermenting the coffee, you're gonna feel this, and it's going to be slimy still, just like that coffee that I had outside. So, but when it's rough like this, then you can dry it. You can screen dry it, you can patio dry it, whatever. And what's going to happen is that seed inside is going to dry down to, let's say, 12% moisture when it's all done. And it's shrunken. So now there's a gap in here, and this is really the shell, the parchment shell that we're talking about. That coffee is going to, after it's dried out in the patio or tables, let's say that's 10 days, 12 days, something like that, then it's going to go into a warehouse, and it's going to sit, and it's going to rest. And resting is really important to have the water activity in the coffee and the moisture content to stabilize, to even out, to unrested coffee, if it's shipped right away, a lot of times will deteriorate quickly. But what you need to do now is you need to haul this coffee out of there, and you need to send it to a dry mill, or the dry beneficio for processing. And so you can see this is actually really easy. It's just a shell, and there's the green bean. And all these bits can be used. They can actually be used in furnaces for mechanical drying and other uses. People are always inventing new uses for that, but just take that, a little friction, and green beans right there. So, in between those two processes is, see, this is the nice white parchment with Pulp Natural right here, where it's got this reddish color because the fruit has been allowed to dry onto the parchment. So you pulped it, you got the skin off, but then you didn't do anything to get the fruit off. You didn't ferment it. You just laid it out to dry. That has, a unique flavor that I think a lot of you know. And then the main point is that either of these styles, or anything in between, can be done with a demucilager, which is a friction-based forced process of, instead of fermenting off the shell, you force it off the friction. Early tests in that were really poor. What would happen is that in the parchment coffee, the crease here, the active force would open that up, and your kind of dirty water with a fermented fruit in it would get inside and would dry with the coffee, and you get fermented flavors in the coffee. So those were the early machines. They've really perfected it. You have Penhagos in Colombia and Pinalens in Brazil making really good ones, and you see that technology spreading. One of the things about those, they call them eco-pulpers, because they are able to use sometimes as little as 6% of the water of that a wet process uses, and in some places that a lot of that water would, despite people's best efforts, it would make it back into streams, and it would contaminate. It's not, chemical contamination, but it's, in a way, it's just as bad, because it'll affect all the ecology of the stream. So anyway, I just wanted to show some basic things about processing instead of looking at a mill and their big equipment, to kind of just look at it from the cherry to the parchment layer, or the pod in this case, and then to the green bean inside, extracting that green bean. And, thanks for